Hello and welcome to Journalist Hangout. It's just 2 days to the first set of polls in the general election in Nigeria. The electoral air is blowing already, and we're here to put you in the mood. Today on the program, President Buhari vows that nobody will be allowed to snatch ballot boxes, rig 2019 elections as Oshiomhole boasts of APC victory. Amosun denies sponsoring thugs to APC presidential rally, says allegation is ridiculous. Boko Haram attacks Borno Governor Kashim Shettima's convoy during campaign. Scores killed, and later on the show, Justice Minister writes INEC to obey High Court order on Zamfara APC. 6 postponement of elections in the state. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Ochitoju and Mobolade Omonijo. I'm Sulaiman. Our lady and journalist hangout starts now. The most basic measure of any country's democracy is the efficiency of its electoral system. Now, Nigeria is on the verge of putting that to test in another round of elections on Saturday. President Muhammadu Buhari himself, a candidate in the polls, has vowed to protect the sanctity of the exercise. At a different forum recently, President Buhari stressed that no one will be allowed to snatch ballot boxes or rig election under his watch, saying he is for free, fair and credible polls. Now, in the meantime, the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Adams Oshiomhole, has boasted that the governing party will win the coming elections in credible manner. Also borrowing a leaf from the president, Oshiomhole also vowed that the APC will not indulge in election manipulation. Need they say more, gentlemen? Good to have you back on the show. I thought you had left Lagos and just, left us on the show. Good to have you back.
I really miss journalist Hangout. It's good to be back.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Omonijo, it's been a while.
It's quite a while.
Honestly, good to see you on the show.
Thank you, my brother.
Let's start with you. Looking at that comment from President Muhammadu Buhari as well as the chairman of the governing APC, what readily comes to mind just 2 days to the election?
Well, that's the kind of thing you expect them to say as leaders, to give confidence to the people that the ruling party is not out there to win at all costs. It's not a do or die. We had a time when one of our leaders would say things like it's do or die, and will really go ahead to demonstrate it. Yes, it's good that they have said it, but we want to see it in action. All the things that we see, even from their own party, does not give people the confidence that things will be as violence-free, as credible, and as fair as they will expect. We hope that they will live up to what they have promised.
Bajide. Because looking at this, one of the things, just yesterday we were on the show and we were talking about the renewed, peace accord signed by President Muhammadu Buhari and, the PDP candidate, Atiku Abubakar. And I asked the question, I said, is it that the first accord signed has just expired before the main, the D-Day?
Just symbolic and meant to reinforce the need for peace. Everyone wants Nigeria to conduct peaceful and credible elections. So outside of Nigeria, the attention of the world is on us. They want to see us grow into a real democratic nation, because after 20 uninterrupted years of democracy, the longest that we've had in our history, we can't continue to describe our democracy as nascent. We can't continue to say, teething problems of democracy. When you're talking about Nigeria, nascent democracy. No, that has to go. We should mature with every passing year. And one way to show that we are approaching maturity as a democratic nation is to have elections, the fidelity of which you and I can vouch for. That is what I long to see. It should not be a case of, oh, if it is APC that can rig because I love the APC, then there's nothing wrong about it. If it is PDP that can rig, then it sits well with me because I'm a PDP supporter. Any Nigerian who reasons like that, honestly, is not a good Nigerian. He should be ashamed of himself. But this is the problem that we have. People only complain when that matter affects them negatively. If it affects them positively, they benefit from it, they do not see any need to complain. But as a nation, if you cannot change your leaders when they do not perform, then it's not a nation to be proud of. We have to get to that level when every 4 years we'll be excited, we'll tell ourselves that these leaders that refuse to serve you and I, this is the time to serve them the red card that they deserve. And that way, leaders who don't want to be disgraced out of office, you see them working for the people. You see them behaving like people who are responsible to you and I. Right now, we have not reached that level.
You know, I think taking off from you what you said, he used the word leaders. So now let's talk about leadership now. It would seem as if, from what Babajide is saying, it's quite important and instructive that those who lead should be the ones saying this, as if the followers, they look at the body language and the words from their leaders. Now, the president has said he won't tolerate that. Do you think that will go down well, especially to some followers who perhaps gearing up to foment trouble on the day?
It could be a restraining factor because the words spoken are very important. The utterances in the past have been the fuel for the fire that engulfs the system. And in other countries, we've seen it also. But when the leader himself is the one saying, look, I do not want any blood spilled, then you can be sure that, well, some of them, even if not all, but that is good enough. It shows that we are moving somewhere. But I want to see it in action. I want to see it demonstrated. I don't want to see it in words only. Because, like I said, if you look at the ruling party itself, you do not see so much of discipline. You do not see people who are ready. I'm not talking of just the leadership at the federal level, but at various levels. At the state level, it's almost do or die. It's either I have it or nobody has it. Or we kill and maim. You see it in many of the states. So we hope that those ones, the warlords in the states, will take a cue from what the leaders are saying. I'm happy that when they were signing the peace accord yesterday, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar also said that my own election is not worth the blood of Nigerians. Good, we've had that before. We hope that it will be demonstrated. We hope that if you are losing a particular area, you'll be man enough to say, yes, I mean, this is the will of the people.
Yes.
And not that anywhere I'm losing, then it means they are rigged.
You know what comes to mind listening to him is the Jonathan example. I want you to speak to that and see if we can actually go back into our inner recess, into our history, and see what we can learn from when leaders say it's not worth the blood of any Nigerian, it's not worth fighting for, and how that can trickle down and really mean what they meant.
Yeah, I think by and large, Jonathan is a good man. It takes a good man to do some of the things that he did. He not only improved our democratic processes, he brought a man that Nigerians could trust to deliver free, fair, and credible elections. And in bringing Professor Jega, it took him some time to convince Professor Jega. Professor Jega served on the Ways team.
Yes.
You know, the electoral reform panel headed by Justice Uwais. Professor Jega served on that team. Jonathan had hunted him and then got people to pile pressure on him to accept the job. He knew from reputation, from Jega's reputation, that Jega had the integrity, the requisite integrity quotient to do a fantastic job. So he had to convince him. He was not bothered about himself. He wanted to give Nigerians the sort of elections that they will be proud of. And you saw that from the off. Jega did his best.
So he didn't go all out hunting for someone who has a soft spot for him?
No, if he wanted that, he could have picked someone from his state, from his home state, that he was sure would do his bidding. And don't forget, he kept saying that my ambition is not what the blood of Nigeria. He said that very early in the day. So we saw incremental improvement in our electoral processes the moment Jonathan took office. And that reached a climax when he lost the election. He saw signs that he had lost the election. He moved in quickly to say, Mr. President, I congratulate you. Till today, President Buhari cherishes that moment. And he keeps saying that he did not know.
I don't want you to lose your thoughts on that. I just want to go on a quick break so that when we come back, we'll take off from where you just stopped, so that for those just joining us, we'll take a moment from Journalist Hangout and we'll be back shortly. Welcome back. It's the Thursday's edition of Journalist Hangout, and the two gentlemen still very much here with me, Babajide Kolade Otidoju and Bolade Omonijo. And before we went to that break, I did promise I was going to let you land on what you were saying. We're looking at comments from President Muhammad Buhari telling the nation and supporters that he's not out there for crisis on election day. Yes. What then happens? Because we now brought down the Jonathan example, and you were on when President Muhammad Buhari received that congratulatory message from President Jonathan then.
And I'm saying that President Buhari still cherishes that moment because it sounded unbelievable to him. It's not in our culture to accept defeat.
Yes.
I remember a governor who accepted defeat and he went back to say, no, I take it back. I was not well beaten. Meanwhile, I was well beaten. So it's not in our nature to accept defeat. So for a president with all the powers at his disposal, and despite the fact that even that election, there were grounds upon which he could complain. He saw videos of the underage voting, and members of his party piled pressure on him that, look, we have grounds to challenge this election. But he stood firm and said, look, I've been beaten, and he went ahead and congratulated the president. That was the peak of it. From bringing Professor Jega to reform the electoral process and deliver an election that the generality of the Nigerian people could be proud of. And then climaxing that by that declaration that, Mr. President, congratulations, you defeated me. General Buhari, you defeated me. Congratulations. Many people didn't expect it. And you will see that it was the same thing that happened in Lagos. The PDP candidate in Lagos, governorship candidate, he took a cue from that. He rang Ambode and considered defeat. That is what we want to see. We want to continue to see. But whether what the president has said will sit well with members of his party, or even the opposition, it's a different thing. I've said it repeatedly, the president can demonstrate his integrity all the time, say, well, I will not allow people to spend public money on elections. But you and I know that a sitting governor who knows that without spending public funds, he could lose the election, or who thinks that without spending public funds, he could lose the election, he will not listen to the president. A man who is convinced that without rigging, he will not be returned the winner of the election. Whether the president says that or not, he will do what's in his heart. So the rest of us must just make up our minds that, look, we want to conduct ourselves legally when it comes to this electionary matter.
Because both of you started off by letting the country know that 20 years is so long a time for us to be talking about, a shaky, growing democracy. By now, we should be saying a whole lot has been achieved. And what Babajide has painted or reminded us is that, a precedent has been set. And it's quite instructive that we build on that example by President Jonathan. So, but the fear there is what he's just also highlighted. How well do you think we can let some of these followers, toe the line of what these leaders are saying, especially from President Buhari?
Well, I don't know what we could do now, but I think you should just build on that. I understand he's making a broadcast this night. I believe he will take that a little further, and he will declare to all Nigerians that, look, where we are, we must go further. We've taken some tentative steps forward. We need to convince the international society that Nigeria has arrived, and that we are going towards a particular area where we will be able to have our elections seamlessly, where nobody will lose sleep that election is coming, when people will not say, oh, all schools shut down, oh, because election is coming. I mean, all schools in Lagos are shut down, for crying out loud now, because we know what elections are like. No? But we need to move beyond that. We need to move beyond when you have to shut down the entire economy because you are going to hold elections. Nobody moves on the road, nobody transacts any business, no one travels because you are holding elections. That's not the example we have, even in some West African countries.
Ghana, doesn't happen like that.
So we need to leave this area. It is shameful that we are still there. But when we talk of credible polls, it's not just on election days, and we need to know the steps are being taken now. The electoral register is ready. We hope it is very credible. They have already given them to the political parties, and I hope they have been diligent enough to go through them so that they don't start crying after the election is held. Then it's not only snatching ballot boxes, as we have seen here. I think Nigerians have to some extent left that stage. But then you still manipulate a lot of things. Between the polling unit and the collation centers, a lot of things still happen. We see that. We still see collusion by the security forces with certain people in thumbprinting before the day or on the day. We still see that without snatching boxes. We see a number of things. We need to go further and show that election, the loser today is a potential winner. And he should see himself as such.
I think, Babajide, coming back to you, because the chairman of the APC also spoke on this, even though he's saying that he's very sure that his party is going to win this election. I want you to put this side by side with that kind of statement from the president, and also a man who is saying that we will win we'll win this election, and also bring the interview granted by the Deputy Senate President, where he said, for now, he doesn't see, no one can clearly say who will win this election. Now, words from politicians, optimism, and sometimes trying to be objective or partisan.
Yeah, as the chairman of the party, the national chairman, is free to inspire hope. Inspire hope in supporters and members of his party. That's his job. If the APC loses this election, he will be the one to carry the can. And he will fizzle into oblivion, like the former national chairman of the PDP, the Bauchi man Muazu, who led them to that electoral loss in 2015. So he's offering hope. But I believe that the Deputy Senate President was right in saying, look, at this stage, you cannot say who will win, because this is an election that will be very close. The problem with us as a people is, for you as a supporter of the APC, you don't want to hear that it will be close. You want to hear that Buhari will win by a landslide. Well, that is not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Every pollster, every credible analyst or pundit will look at a number of issues. The most important thing is the fidelity of that election. If the election lacks this sort of fidelity that we are talking about, then all your predictions will not work, because you are predicting based on
basic assumptions.
Assumptions that the election will be free and fair. If politicians refuse to let the election be free and fair, if they use policemen to rig the election, if vote buying becomes very rampant, then the election is not credible. Then even your own permutations will not work. And then people will sit back and say, see, you don't talk rubbish. But this is an election that even the president knows in his heart, because they commission some studies of their own. He knows that this will be a close election. And that's why, against his plan to merely campaign in geopolitical zones. The president has had to campaign in all the states, doing 2 states a day. The star boy, the one they call the star boy, the VP.
Vice president.
In some cases, the vice president was doing 3 states in one day. Working like a machine. Moving, going into people's homes. Yes. It's unprecedented in Nigerian history that will have a number 2 man bring himself low to the point of leveling up with the ordinary voter and entering their houses and telling them why they should vote for his party. But Oshibajo has gone ahead to do that because they know that this is not an election to take lightly. But a lot of the supporters out there, the extremist supporters of the 2 parties, because we have extremist supporters.
On both sides.
On both sides. The extremist supporters do not see it like that because they've lost rationality. They can't ask themselves why the VP will go be entering house to house, be doing house-to-house campaign, door-to-door campaign. We did it in the past, but not for people at that level. But he's trying to send a message that, look, I do not see myself as being high up there. As I'm coming into your home to ask for your mandate.
I'll come back to you. I want both of you to close on this because we started talking about the comment, and you said Oshomole said that to inspire hope. Now, I'm asking, you know, looking at what the vice president has been doing now, because the campaigns will be closed very soon. Do you think that the chairman of the governing APC has done well enough to also campaign? You know, people are talking about those that they saw, you know, having interaction, perhaps one-on-one or going from state to state. How did you see the APC campaign, going by what the national chairman has said?
No, what the national chairman has said is not out of place. He should inspire confidence in his men. You should tell them that you have not worked in vain. You should tell them. It's only when he says that the only way we can lose is when they rig that you say that he has stepped out of line. But he hasn't said so, and I don't see anything wrong with that. The only thing, and if the president has been doing 2 states a day, he's not been alone. The chairman has been with him, but he's also been bogged down by a lot of crises within his party, some shameful ones. And I mean, Zamfara is there, Rivers is there. They are trying to settle some of them before the day. So those things are bound to hold him down. But yeah, I think in saying what he has said, he has not stepped out of line.
Your last word on that.
Yes, Oshomole has to inspire hope. This is not the time for his usual devil-may-care rhetorics. This is the time to stay calm, behave like a true leader, talk to the people, play to the strengths of your party. So he has his job cut out for him. I'm sure that he's going to be very busy that day, giving directives to people where to go, where to ensure that the opponent doesn't gain so much traction. I'm not going to talk about the methods. It's unfortunate that we've not had sufficient time to look at how both parties will do in the various states. But we look forward to.
All right, still to come on Journalist Hangout. What kind of politics is ongoing in Ogun State as they go into the polls this Saturday, and of course, match 2? When we return, we'll look at that. In politics, especially in Nigeria's democratic experience, interest is the very oxygen that drives the actions of politicians. The governor of the southwest state of Ogun, Ibikunle Amosun, is a politician that knows how to oil the wheel of his political interest in the coming elections. Now, he's serving 2 masters at the same time in the All Progressives Congress, APC, and the Allied People's Movement, APM. Time was when that will be termed as anti-party activity, but the clash of interest ensuing from such arrangements culminated into a fisticuff that nearly marred the APC presidential rally in Abeokuta on Monday. But Governor Amosun has denied sponsoring the thugs involved, as alleged by the APC spokesman Malam Lanre Issa Onilu. He said it is ridiculous for him to be accused of such. Now, let's show you a tip of what happened at the rally.
SS men don't create crisis for us in Ogun State, and the police too. I noticed that you are using tear gas. Please don't try it. Any moment from now, we are going to allow our people, because they are outside, and we don't want President Buhari and his entire team to think the good people of Ogun State are not with him. So, to all of you, I have told everybody, we are going to open the gates. We are going to allow them. People are outside. We don't want stampede. We are going to allow them. We are Ogun State. We will allow them. They will go around.
We are here for continuity. The progress must continue. No going back.
Jimmy, let's go. Jimmy, let's go.
I don't know what happened on that day, but again, I think a lot of people should be giving some explanations as to what transpired on the day.
I think that generally, the governor of Ogun State didn't cover himself in glory. He didn't cover himself in glory on the day. There is a video that has gone viral of Governor Ibikunle Amosun supervising the destruction of posters, of Dapo Abiodun's posters at the stadium. And you see him even telling them to hasten up. Destroying, they packed those little billboards and posters and were just dumping them outside there and destroying them. Now, the impression that he wants to give to the president is, look, I'm loyal. This party, where I'm sponsoring my boy as the gubernatorial candidate, is your party. Is another version of APC. You know, like PlayStation, you have PlayStation 1 up to 4 now. It's like APC 2. That's the impression that he wanted to give. So he made sure that the supporters of his second party dominated the stadium. They beat up supporters of Dapo Abiodun. Once they saw you wearing that dress like yellow, they brought this, what carpenters call 2x2, that plank, that piece of plank. They were using to beat people, they injure people, they chased them out of the stadium. They now dominated the stadium. And that was what afforded them the chance to embarrass the president in the manner they did. If they didn't want anything, if the president did it, they would respond in a wave. No, and the noise will be deafening. It's because they dominated the stadium in terms of their population. That was what the governor designed. That was what he wanted. And remember, even when the policemen kept them outside the stadium, because the rally was for the APC. It wasn't for APM. No. But they completely hijacked the rally. It was the APC officials that even paid for the venue. I mean, paid for the telecast. But at the end of the day, they succeeded in chasing those people away. And you saw the governor, you saw the role he played. When they locked them out, he was the one who said they should open the gate for those guys. And as soon as they got into the arena, they began to misbehave. And what... You see, when people blame the president, I blame the president because what the president did was wrong. You cannot go to a place, raise up someone's hand, and then in the same breath say that they can vote for anyone that they like. For those who defend the president over even absurdities, there's just no way to defend this. It's only in Imo State and Ogun State that he has done that. Why didn't he go to Bauchi and tell the people to vote for anybody? It was an APC rally. So you should be campaigning for APC candidates.
You know, if you push that further, I'm looking at the risk involved, bringing on a ruly crowd in that, arena. What if anyone had done anything stupid to some of the people or even the president? Because it wasn't as if security was really, really tight on the day.
For me, I think I would blame the president fully for what happened. Not only for what happened on that day, but what happened before the day. Because he was responsible for giving the signal that there was confusion. I mean, he received APM in Aso Rock.
And they did the eight fingers.
And they did the 8 fingers and all that. So the impression they have is that with the governor, we have a cover. The president is also for us.
So it was like a subtle endorsement.
Oh, of course, it was an endorsement of sorts.
Their activity.
That's
what
it.
it means.
So that emboldened them to come to the stadium to welcome their grandfather, their patron, as it was. And as a result of that, you had the APC
That's the picture
and
showing
the
on the screen.
APM.
Yes.
You had the clash here and there. And it's been so throughout the campaign. Everywhere Dr. Abiodun went in the stronghold of Governor Ibikunle Amosun, they were attacked. Only yesterday, the former speaker of Ogun State,
yes,
Titi Oseni, who is running on the ADC for the senatorial election, was shot at. She's running against Governor Amosun. I'm not saying Governor Amosun was behind the shooting, but a number of people will be very free to interpret the way they like. And given all that has been happening, why? Why is it that it's only in Egbaland where he was the former senator and where you have his stronghold that you have this? You don't have much of it, say in Ijebuland, for example. You don't have it in Remo. Why?
I think looking at this now, it's a good time, gentlemen, for us to go back to where we were coming from, how we started this show, looking at the two political parties and a couple of other things. Now, let's start talking about the dynamics and see if we can move. You have just mentioned what the president did in Imo State, what he's done in Ogun State, and also asked a very, very critical question. We haven't seen him do the same in other places, especially up north. So how are they faring? Time was when, editors like yourselves will sit and say, this is the permutation, this is how it is going. Babajide, what do you see when you look at this now, looking at the parties as they go into the elections in the next 48 hours? How are they faring?
You see, a lot has changed about our electoral process that it's difficult to do the kind of permutation that we used to do. In 2011, I was editor of the news, and I had to write the cover story for that year, for the election, who will win, how the election will be won. And the accuracy of my permutation at that time really stunned a lot of our colleagues. And I was on air at Galaxy TV, and I gave an accurate overview of what was going on, and I predicted those who will win in each of the states. Akintoba, the GM of Galaxy, nicknamed me the Oracle, based on the accuracy of those predictions. But today, the dynamics have changed. Vote buying is a factor. So you may not actually be very strong politically, but if you have so much money to buy the people's conscience right there at polling stations, you may just win the election. Meanwhile, you are putting the permutation together, you will not have factored that into the whole equation. You will not have factored that into the whole thing. So it's tough, but I can tell you how the PDP thinks it can win this election. The PDP is targeting the Northwest especially. They believe that in the Northwest, they are going to deny Buhari the kind of huge votes that he got in 2015. And they think that if they can get up to 40% in Kano, get maybe 35% in Sokoto, in Katsina, 40% or 45% in Sokoto, because in Sokoto, Wamako will have to contend against the sitting governor and Atahiru that had to Bafarawa, who is also strong in the state, and a lot of the other big people, big politicians, like this big-time contractor, I'm trying to remember his name. But a lot of those big people are with the governor. So it may not translate to victory for PDP in Sokoto, but their performance will be strong enough to be maybe in the region of 40%. In that place, they will have denied Buhari the quantum of votes that he used to get. So that is their strategy. And they are thinking that once they can deny him of the quantum of votes that he got in 2015, he will find it difficult in the southwest and south and southeast to make up the number, because here people don't vote that much.
I want to bring something before I'll come to you, Omonijo. Perhaps you must have seen videos trending coming from Kano. About a week ago, there's this comment from Konkonso, yes, which the ulamas, and you know the ulamas are strong group of persons, individuals in Kano that you don't take for granted. Yes. And they believe that his comments against them, talking about those who were keeping beards or who follow now they have said that's the tradition of the Prophet of Islam. Now, there are so many videos that I don't know if you've seen a few of them, all done in Hausa language. So, and for some people, they say such could also mean, you know, a minus for the already won votes for the PDP in Kano State.
Yeah, but it's an election day that will know the impact that will have. I have also heard that the Shia movement, for example, they are not going to vote for the APC in Kaduna, in Kano, and they are in millions. So all kinds of things will come into play, you know, not just one major thing, but that is their strategy. And they think that they are capable of winning the North Central. The PDP is working very hard in the North Central. And if the PDP wins up to 4 states in the North Central, their own plan is to win 5 states in the North Central and leave only Niger. So if they can win 4 states in the North Central, there will be real problems for the APC.
Off the top of your head, what are those 4 states?
The 4 states that they think are at play are Kogi, Benue, Plateau, Nasarawa, or Kwara. Either of Nasarawa or Kwara. President Buhari has never won Nasarawa and the FCT. So they think that history may repeat itself. So they have their eyes on those 2 states. But of course, the battle in Kwara will be very tough. It can go either way.
Let me come to you. What do you say?
Well, let me start from where he stopped, North Central. I agree that President Buhari will lose some votes in Kwara. Remember that in 2015, Saraki was with him. So that translated into something in Kwara. Saraki is not with him today. He may still have the majority of the votes, but he will lose some quantum of votes in Kwara compared to 2015. Then, if you go to Benue, we also know the prevailing mood in that state. It's likely to affect their performance in Benue State. In Kogi too, they may still have, President Buhari will have quite a number of votes in Kogi State. No, in Niger, you can say that it's almost sure for him. Yeah. But coming to the southeast and south-south, and I'm very interested in those ones too. Now, the PDP is likely to win in southeast. The prevailing mood, all of us could see that. But I know that in the southeast, 2 things will count. Number 1 is going to have some inroads too. He will have some more votes than he had then. And secondly...
More than he had in 2015?
Yes.
In the southeast?
Yes. He will have more. Then secondly, some of the votes that were not really counted but added will not be there for the PDP.
That could work for both parties.
That
could work against both parties.
No, I'm talking of for the southeast. The southeast was and is the stronghold of PDP.
Yes.
In 2015, everything was there for them. The PDP was in power at the center, it was at the power at the state level.
The votes from the southeast in 2015 was way lower than 2011. In fact, in some states in the southeast, to show you that the southeast didn't really do much, Jonathan didn't get more than 200,000 votes in some states. Because look at a state like Imo. Look at what Buhari scored and what Jonathan scored. It wasn't really huge. Apart from Rivers and Akwa Ibom.
That's South.
Those were the states where, and Delta.
And Delta.
Those were the states where they really got huge votes. I think about 900,000 in Delta and over 1 million in Akwa Ibom. And but the Southeast, the votes were not really much. And that's why this time around they are putting pressure, trying to see whether the votes can be higher. Go and check, you see that apart from Anambra gave PDP the most votes in the Southeast in the last election. But compared to what Buhari got in the North,
no,
it amounts to nothing.
Has it always been a case of voter apathy?
South. So talk of the South.
Okay, you are going to talk about South.
South. Akwa Ibom, Rivers, Delta. They played a major role in the 12 million votes that the PDP had in 2015. This time around, the APC has made an inroad, especially into Akwa Ibom. I'm not saying they will win there, but just like you were saying in the North, the APC will have some 40% or thereabout in that place.
But I don't see them winning.
No, they may not win. Then in Delta too, you will have much more vote than you had in 2015.
Yes.
Or you have a scale down too
in
the quantum of the votes.
That is the problem for the permutation of for the PDP.
Yes.
Because as you think of getting 40% in Kano, in Sokoto. And the rest of them, how do you stop the president from also getting 40% or 45% in some of
used to be your own strong vote?
Yes.
Exactly.
So how do you stop that? Because if you cannot stop him, chances are that you get 40% of those places because both candidates are Hausas. And usually when Buhari has to contend with a fellow Northerner, like it happened when he contested against Yaradua, he doesn't get the kind of votes that he used to get. So those votes will come down. But how do you stop him from getting up to 40% in Delta, in maybe Anambra, and some of those states? So if you cannot stop him from getting 40% in those states, then there's no way your candidate can win the election. So that is the challenge.
So some people have been talking about some of the individuals who have moved camp from the PDP to the APC in those regions, the South, and of course in the Southeast. Specifically talking about South, you look at the former governor Akpabio and of course the former governor Emmanuel Uduaghan. These two individuals, do you think that they'll be able to give that 40% which, Babajide, is saying that if they can, maybe they just might?
No, I believe they can make it. The prevailing mood is not exactly the same thing.
As it was in 2015?
As it was 2015. 2015, to South also felt, this is our son. He's going for another term. Don't deny him. The Yorubas will say, in other words, son, you can't deny your son and go to embrace another. So that kind of thing was there. It's not there now. Just like it's playing in the North, where you have two Northerners. It is the same thing that those in the South don't feel particularly bonded with this one. Even someone like Governor Wike, he will vote for the PDP or whatever, but he's not as enthusiastic as he would have been.
He's more concerned with keeping his states.
We think keeping his own states.
How did we miss out to the Rivers? In all of this, we're talking about South.
No,
I'm happy.
No,
I want him to speak more. I love to hear about the Rivers.
No, I am convinced that PDP will take Rivers. I'm convinced about that because traditionally, where we have crisis, political parties pay dearly when they go into crisis and they are unable to solve the crisis before
elections.
Election. You remember how did APC even win the election in the first place? It was because of the crisis in the PDP. 5 governors left. Then the acrimonious primaries, more people left. Some of the people who are governors in the APC today contested the primaries of the PDP in December 2014, or even attempted to contest. People like Otom, he left the PDP for APC, and then he won an APC. People like Atiku Bagudu, so many of them. So when your party is in crisis and you can't resolve the crisis, and you go into an election in that state, then you can be sure that the enemy can profit from that. So there are states where both the APC and PDP are in crisis. You should expect that it will affect the completion of the election. Look at a state like Ondo. Ondo. Look at Ogun, where they are fighting themselves and they can't resolve. Look at even Delta. Ogboru and what's his name? Ogboru and Omoagege quarreling among themselves. That could also affect the overall performance of the APC in Delta State. And that's a state that they would naturally want to win. So this is the thing. And when big people also move, it also strengthens the parties that they move to. Of course, the APC is stronger in Akwa Ibom now because you have the former governor, that's Akpabio. Although I still don't see them winning the state because it's already, it looks like, you know, it's just like Enugu State. I went to Enugu State. Enugu State, despite the defection, still looks very much like a one-party state. It's still a PDP state. So the crisis in Rivers State between Magnus Abe and Amechi will affect the party as well. The party, if they had come together, this was the best chance to take out Wike, but their elephant-sized egos meant that they could not resolve these issues among themselves.
So they bungled that chance.
They bungled that opportunity to kick Wike into touch, as the footballers say.
I want to see if we can quickly, close on that very ugly incident that has happened in Borno State where the convoy of Kashim Shettima was attacked. Time was when the insurgents were hitting at soft targets, women and children, schools, markets and places. But this time it looks daring and one of the most, one of the boldest moves ever by the insurgents, going after the convoy of the governor, where a lot of people have been killed, and news also making the rounds that some were actually taken away. Comment on that.
Well,
and that happened just about 4 days to the elections.
Well, you have made the comment that it's a very shameful thing. It's dampening, if you like, because the election is right here with us. He was going for campaign, and all of a sudden, and he was going with a very large retinue of people. I mean, it was a campaign rally that they were going for, and yet those ones were able to come there and attack, and they were able to carry out what they wanted. They were able to, they may not have been able to truncate the move, but they were able to take some vehicles, they were able to take some people, they were able to kill, and they were able to abduct. Yeah. As the case was, I mean, it's unfortunate that you could have that in that kind of place where you thought that all those activities had ceased for a while, even though you continue to have it reverberating from time to time. However, I also think the governor and his men were a little careless in terms of their strategy. Moving at night in such a dangerous place was ill-advised.
Yes.
Very ill-advised. And it's been said that security men advised against it, but maybe he felt that he knew the territory well enough, that he had enough cover, and those ones, they said they were in fatigue, they were able to disguise, and that allowed them to penetrate. It's unfortunate.
I think we need to comment on this. You've also visited Borno State a couple of times.
Yes. That area, that's Gaborone Gala area, cannot be said to be safe. I think in Borno State, the only place where you can say, yes, it's safe is Maiduguri. Yes, there are some isolated towns like Monguno is safe, but how do you get there? The road leading to those places are not safe. The local governments in Borno North, they are not safe. The governor knows it. When he was in December, when he was going to Monguno to see IDPs who fled after Boko Haram chased our soldiers out of Baga, those who fled into Monguno, he was advised against it. He was told it was dangerous. But he said, no, these are my people. I need to go see them. So it's unfortunate. Ran, that is located along the border with Cameroon, it's been attacked so many times. And the last time they came, they killed people, looted army weapons. So it's not far from that area. So they should have known that area was not safe. And when you move around, you don't know who is watching. You don't know who is planning evil against you. So I think this one reinforces what we have been saying for so long, that we have not defeated the enemy. We can deceive ourselves all day that we have defeated the enemy, but the enemy has not been defeated. An enemy that goes after governors, you can no longer say that is a defeated enemy.
Well, a good place for us to anchor this. I'd like to say many thanks, gentlemen. Babajide Kolade, Tito Julia, and Mobola de Omenejo. Many thanks for hanging out with me. Well, that's it on Journalist Hangout. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. It will be the last before the big moment, Saturday for the election. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on other platforms showing on the screen and on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Sulaiman Alede. Bye for now and God bless Nigeria.